Okay, so as we get started, let's focus on creating the project, copying the assets, and then focus the majority of our time laying out our application. We're going to take a slightly different layout approach than we've taken before, maybe use a couple of different techniques as well. So without any further ado, let me turn off the webcam so I can focus. And we're going to create a new project. And I'm just going to call this UWP Soundboard. And we'll do what we always do here, and we'll remove the frame counter completely. And then what I want to do is add assets, and there's a couple of different types of assets for this project. You can download these from the previous video or this video. I don't know. Look for the download associated with one of those videos. Now you'll notice a pattern here that there are categories of audio and then icons that belong with those audio WAV files. And so each of those subfolders have two WAV files. If we go back to the images, they'll match just with a PNG extension as opposed to a WAV extension. The next type of folder we have here are icons, and these will be used in the split view in the pane, where we display usually a list view of options, and each of those represent a category. And then finally, here's the package FX manifest, and these are logo and icons that are used for like splash screen, things that are going to be required as we submit our app to the Windows Store. Okay, so unfortunately, the way that you copy these in, not as easy as personally I would like. You'll see that there's a little bit of a weirdness here. So audio has a subfolder, and then inside of there you have files, right? So when you drag and drop, like for example this, into your assets folder, you'll notice that there's no subfolders in there, and they're supposed to be. You're like, huh, okay, well I guess I didn't copy them in. So you go to those subfolders, and you drag and drop those, and it'll say, wait a second, they're already there. You're like, what? So let's go ahead and just hit apply to all items, yes, and it'll stick them all in there. So we should have 4 categories with 2 WAV files per category in the audio subfolder. Great. We'll take that same approach here in the icons folder. Here again, I'll just drag and drop that icon folder. It says it doesn't have anything in there. We know better, it just didn't add them to the project. So let's go and grab, drag and drop. And we'll say, are you sure? We already have them in there. No, you don't. Add them. And we'll do this again for the images for each of the audio files. Here again, no subfolders, but we know they're there. We'll drag and drop, stick them in. You sure you want to do this? Yes, do it. Do it. And then finally, let's go to the package AppX manifest folder that I created, and go through this little dance again. Yes to all. Alright, so that's out of the way. We'll come back and we'll use those a little bit later. Let me go ahead and pull this strip out there. Close up assets and pop open main page.xaml. So I'm going to take a slightly different layout approach this time. We will have a layout grid, and that'll give us the topmost row, which will contain a relative panel with the hamburger button, back button, and the search, the auto, whatever it is, auto suggest box. And then in that second row, we'll put a split panel. So let's start that process. So here we go, row definitions, whoops, grid.row definitions, row definition, height equals auto, and we've done this at least a dozen times already, right? So this shouldn't be too hard. Here we're going to put a relative panel, and this again will contain that top matter, and then below that we'll put a split view, and that'll contain everything in the main body. So in this relative panel, I'm going to want to put, first of all, the hamburger button. I'm going to add a back button, and then I'm going to add an auto suggest box, and that'll be, let's just go ahead and put relative panel align right with panel equals true. Here I'm going to give this one a name of hamburger button, and then this one would be relative panel dot align left. I think it's align left with. Oh, I'm sorry, align right of. Just right of the hamburger button. There we go. And then this would be just, let's go ahead and go relative panel align left with panel. All right, that should be pretty much self-evident, but I'll put it in there anyway. I'm going to go ahead and add a click event here because I know I'm going to need it. Go ahead and space these guys out. I also know I'm going to need to put for example, the font family is going to be Sago MDL2 assets, and then the content will be let me see if I remember how to do this. Ampersand and X E 700 semicolon. If I got that right from memory, I will be impressed with myself. Which just goes to show, I don't memorize this. Most people don't memorize these obscure little things. That's why you have a cheat sheet, or you have the cheat sheet called the internet. You can always reference. Yep, I got it right. Wow, I'm impressed with myself. It's the little things, right? Okay, so next up, I need a name for this button. So let's give it the name of back button. And so that's necessary because I'm going to give it the click equals new event handler. And then here again, I want font family equals go MDL2 assets, and then content pound X E something or other. Let me go figure this out. I'm going to open up, I got to the point where I decided I'm going to put the character map right here on my taskbar, and I think this is the one I want. There's a bunch of these back arrows. They have them for, I guess, various uses, but I'll use this one. 0A6. That should be sufficient. 0A6. And then the auto suggest box. There's really not much I need to do here. I would need to give it a name though. So let's give it the name of search auto suggest box. And I'm going to put placeholder text equal to search for sounds. I know I want the width to be 200 from that previous exercise that we did together. And I know the query icon, I want defined query icon. And then I know that I'm going to handle the text changed event because we're going to filter the list based on that. And then I also know that I want the query submitted event to handle that one as well. Everything else, though, I'm going to leave for now. We'll come back to that in a little while whenever we try to actually get that functionality working. Let's see now. That's the relative panel. Okay, no, we haven't touched the split view yet. So let's see what we have first before we move on here. See if there's anything glaringly wrong with anything I've done up to this point. These look awfully small. I'll probably change the height and the width of the buttons themselves and then change the font. So I'm going to use height and width of 45 like we did in the previous exercise for these buttons. So height equals 45, width equals 45. I like that. That feels good to me. And then also I want to set the font size. Set it to 20. Great. All right, so that should be good enough for now with that relative panel area. Okay, great. Need some padding, but we'll come back for that later. All right, next up, split view. Let's give it a name because we're going to have to reference it programmatically. So my split view. Display mode, I know I want that to be compact overlay. I also know that I want the compact pane length equal to be 45. That would be the width of the buttons that I have above it, so I like that. And then the open pane length, oh, I don't know, 150 should be fine, but let me just go to 200 here. I seem to remember it's going to be a little bit larger for some reason. Having gone through this once already. All right, so that's good. So we got that, and now inside of this, I need the split view dot pane, and then I need the split view dot content. In the pane, we're going to have a list box like we always have had. Or actually, I'm sorry. I'm going to do things a little bit different this time. I'm going to use a list view this time. I'm going to bind to the items and just use data binding and bind to a list that I'll create in the code behind for the main page.xaml. I guess I will work on that in this lesson. Any rate, let me see. I know that we want the is item click enabled equals true on this. I know I'm going to handle the item click event on this as well. I probably should give it a name. Bummer. So name equals menu items list view. And so let me regenerate that. Item click equals new event handler. Great. And I know I need a template, and I know I need a source. I'll come back to that in a minute. Now, in this area, I'm actually going to add, in the content area, I'm going to add a grid because I'm going to actually split this into two rows. There'll be a top row that'll contain the what's being displayed in the main area, and then below that, I'll have the items that will be displayed. So I'm going to need some row definitions. So row definition height equals auto, and then do a star on that one. Great. And so I know. Whoops. Let's not get here in the wrong spot. Okay, there we go. In this top row, I'm going to add a stack panel, and it's just going to contain a text block. In fact, I don't even know that I need the stack panel, honestly. I could probably do without it. In fact, I will do without it. Let's get rid of it. Let's just go straight with a text block. And we'll set name category text block. Text equals all sounds. That'll be the default text in there. And I'm going to make this kind of like a header. So we'll set the font size to 24. Okay. And then in the lower area, I'll add the grid view beneath that, and that'll contain all of our items. And we'll set that grid.row equals 1. And I'll call this name sound grid view. All right, and this is really the key one that we want to focus on. We want to set the the selection mode equal to none. All I want somebody to be able to do is click on a sound and to play the sound. I don't need selection. I do want to set the is item click enabled equals true because I do want it to be clickable. And so then the item click event should be handled. Now I know I'm going to need an item source and all that business, and I'll come back to that. So let's go grid view dot item template, and then set the data template, and then set the let's put an image inside of there equals my image. And I happen to know that the height and the widths are kind of weird because when I gave the specifications to the guy who was working on it, I just gave him some arbitrary number based on a mock-up that I'd created. I think this is 101. Yeah, I look at my notes here. I see it's 101 width. And we're going to have to set the source on that as well. We'll come back to that later whenever we do the data binding in the I guess in the next lesson. Now there's one other interesting little thing that I'm going to stick here as well in this area, and that is the media element. And a media element allows you to play sounds, and we'll become very familiar with that 2 videos from now. But let me go ahead and give it the name my media element, and I'm going to set a property called autoplay equals true, and that just says, hey, when I give you a source, so assets / sound / cow, whatever, just go ahead and play it. I'm not going to programmatically tell you to start and stop playing it. Just play, autoplay. All right. I think that's all that I'm going to do here in this first video. We covered a lot of ground. There's a lot left to do, but we'll come back and get them in subsequent passes at this. So at this point, there's really not a lot to this app. It's just kind of the shell, and we'll come back and we'll fill in a lot of this stuff. Okay, pick it up in the next lesson. Thanks.